So like Jehovah's Witnesses couldn't stand us. The black metal people were spitting on us, and the Satanists, they were like, we're not true. And here again, we were still just playing Wicked Game.
Moving on to Razorblade Romance, this one right there.
Oh yeah, the pink one.
Yeah, you can see the heartogram on there a bit. So a lot of bands say that the second album is the hardest one to make. Do you feel like that was the case with you?
Oh yeah, it was terribly hard because we kicked Batka, the drummer of the first album. We kicked him out. I can't remember why. I think it was one of those things that people wanted to spend more time in a bar than at the rehearsal place. I don't know. That happened later on to me, but many years later. But so there was we were going for a lot of changes. We made some demos and tried different things out, and nothing seemed right. And then we got offered for our first tour our second tour in Germany, whatever. Our first international tour, let's put it that way. It might be wrong, but that's how I remember it. And we didn't have a drummer, so there was another Helsinki band who just split called Kyria, Kyyyria, and I knew Gas, the drummer from the band, and so we asked him if he'd be able to play those 10 gigs, and then he jumped ship, and then he joined the band, and then through him being such a great character, he just injected this new energy into us, or whatever you want to call it. We had some boost from somewhere, and then all the songs that sounded terrible when we had demoed them started sounding really good, and then we re-demoed them, and then we found John Fryer, the producer who'd been working with Nine Inch Nails on Pretty Hate Machine, who had produced Stabbing Westward. Stuff just happens. There's no there's no secret handshakes involved. You just go in and do what you do, and hope that you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Of course, there's the famous story of that record, Razorblade Romance, that's the one that Bam Margera, he first bought that one. I think he heard Right Here in My Arms on TV. It topped some sort of top 10. And
in Helsinki, I think. I think he was doing a skate demo in Helsinki, and he got played a lot on radio or TV or whatever. Yeah. And that's how he bought it, and then he took it back to the States, and then he fell in love with it, and then he ended up, I think he was doing another skate demo somewhere in the UK, and then he came to our gig and knocked on our backstage door, or dressing room door, and then that's how we met, and that's how we became friends slowly but surely after that.
Yeah. Razorblade Romance, songs from this record, it's getting put into Jackass, it's getting put into the CKY videos. More people are getting turned on to it. Bam is really pushing it to America. People are falling in love with your music. Mm-hmm. At this point, do you feel like you're beginning to taste a bit of fame?
It was probably before, because because back in '99, the German record company asked us if we would have a song for a movie called 13th Floor. No, this 13th Floor Elevators is like a Rocky Erickson band. What's the movie called? 13th Floor. Maybe it's just 13th Floor. But this sci-fi film that they released at the same time as Matrix, and then it flopped. But anyway, they were in search of a song for it, for the German edition, and the only song we had ready was Join Me in Death. Mm-hmm. And the record company hated it, but they had the opportunity of pushing it into the film, so they thought that they'd do it anyway, because they have a song and it's a film, so it's a good public, good for everybody anyway. And but then for some reason it didn't do anything for about a couple of months, and then all of a sudden it went #1 in Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Finland, and blah 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 blah. And the album hadn't been out yet, so that was quite odd for us. We didn't have any money or whatnot, and we heard they was #1, and they were celebrating in Germany, having we could hear the Cristal bottles popping, and we were in a bar with me and Miguel and trying to get one little beer together so we could celebrate
a bit of money.
Yeah, and that's so that's how it happened. And then after that, we were in the German version of Top of the Pops, a big hit TV chart show. We were there several times that year, amongst all really poppy acts, and so we got that sort of fame. But also when you are recognized, that's also the moment when everybody's interested in what you do, and they all want you to perform in their shows and at their gigs and at their weddings and at their whatnots, and you're bombarded with so much work that you don't realize what you're doing until after many years afterwards. So you don't think about things in terms of fame.
Okay.
You just
again,
go
with the blinders.
Yeah. That's the only way to do it anyway. Why should you look back?
At this point,
if God would have meant us to look back, then our heads would be the other way around, right?
I like that.
Cool.
I like that quote. Write that down. Get it tattooed somewhere on you, on your forehead, even. At this point, when
Which forehead? Sorry. At that time, Jackass wasn't known in Europe at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a big deal that it had already been here or becoming like big. For me, it was just a cool dude to hang out who loved Turbonegro, the Norwegian punk band, and who skated. I used to skate. We had a lot of like similarities. Then he loved what we did. Then it was just, we were like a match made in hell, good bar hoppers or whatever you want to call it. So we didn't think about it in terms of like hanging out with celebrities or whatnot. That became later. That happened later.
So was that maybe during the Deep Shadows and Brilliant Highlights era, where Jackass started to go overseas, and like the movie, had been released, I think, already, and your music is all over the place. Is it maybe?
We were at the opening. We were at the premiere, and BAM had invited us to be at the premiere. I was with a lighting technician, out of all people, there in the UK. It was a good party. It was staying at. Yeah, it was Steve-O, and it was trying to knock. They were trying to knock down the door of like Jennifer Lopez or one in the middle of the night. We were staying at the same hotel. And
oh my God!
It was funny. And then remember the UK band, The Darkness.
Oh yeah, love The Darkness.
Yeah, they played. This is the first time I saw them. They played the after show. MTV held an after show for the film, and they played there before they were signed, I guess. They played "Get Your Hands Off My Woman."
Okay, yeah.
And stuff like that. Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah. So a lot of good memories. It was fun. And then it was fun. That was our first Taste of Fame actually, because I remember walking out from the Metropolitan Hotel in London. There was like shit tons of people with cameras outside. They weren't there for us. They were there for for like some movie stars or whatever. But that was great. Things went so well with Razorblade Romance that obviously what it does to a young guy, in their 20s, whatnot, it makes you feel invincible and it makes you feel very sure of what you do and incredibly selfish. So obviously we thought as a band that we can't go wrong, that we just write a new album and it'll sell like, hotcakes. And which kind of happened. but also at that time, because Razorblade Romance was an album that nobody was really, well, let's say the industry wasn't expecting that to be such a hit that it was. It meant that now there was like 17,000 different A&R people from the record companies and different whatnots in the studio, and everybody had an opinion. That was like, it became really, really frustrating. and then we ended up working on the album for about 11 months. So it was a long time, and we were touring in between. Nobody, we started out with a song that sounded like kind of like Queens of Stone Age or something, and then it turned out sounding like something totally different 11 months later, because we were just so bored of the song already that we just kept on like switching it over. And then John Fryer, who came into our help and mixed a few songs, he said that we should have recorded the whole album from scratch again, just at the very end, because you so easily, as a band, you lose the sound of an album, and the sound of five guys being in the room together. That's sort of like, I don't know what to call it, a magic.
Were you guys kind of second guessing yourselves? And
yeah, I guess so. But I think that's pretty too, and that's beautiful and endearing. Having insecurities recorded on tape for the whole world to see is pretty cool.
That's interesting.
Kinda.
Is that the first time you feel like that was put on tape? Insecurity?
No, there has to be some percentage of it on each and every album, I guess. A bit of you have to be a bit naive. If you're a musician, there has to be that sort of like blue-eyed, and gotta be a kid in a candy store whenever in the studio, sort of thing, or writing a song or whatever.
Yeah. Well, this is the first album with the current lineup.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So when you're in the studio, are things starting to click in a way that they hadn't before?
No, that happened with Love Metal. Burton, who joined the band, he played only a few songs on Deep Shadow the Brilliant Highlights.
Okay.
I played some of the really bad organs and whatnot there. But it was like we were like in this situation of all this states of eternal change. You know, like we didn't know what's going to happen next week, and like producers were flying in, and it was confusing. So I think that that afterwards, the touring that album, that's kind of like that made us gel, you know, as a band a bit more, you know.
Cool.
Because you know, when you see your good friends kind of like being, because you're pushed and you get stressed out and you're not given enough time to maybe rest, and how you deal with that being young is that you party more, and then at some point there's like you know, bang your head into a wall, and then you gotta, I don't know. It's interesting, but I think that everybody has to at some point go through that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, you never know what's enough until you know what's more than enough. You know.
Is this looking back? Is this the point where maybe the partying is getting a little out of control? Maybe you're not partying for the right reasons.
Partying got out of control like a decade earlier.
Okay, so it was always kind of.
Yeah, but you know, we're Finnish. You know, it's very cold during the winters. You know, you gotta get drunk.
Children of Bodom will tell you that.
Yeah, exactly.
Very true.
Same idea. You know, and us more than them because we play so slow songs that that physical movement doesn't keep us warm. That's probably the reason why they bang their heads so much. You know, they don't need so much booze.
Wow, to challenge Children of Bodom to a drinking contest, that would be dangerous.
Yeah, well, you know, yeah, that's very true. Actually, yeah, I've been out with Alexia, I think, once. That didn't turn out to be good.